Good morning, everyone. This is James, the local Viking, and today's video we're going to go over how to look up the URL for a service area business so you can run a GeoGrid scan. So we have four options in our GeoGrid scan. One is My GMB. That just means you can take any listing you have within local Viking and simply click the listing, give you the baseline scan. You have Google search. So that's just the name of a business. So, if we wanted Dogtail, it's here populated. And there's our baseline scan again. Place ID. Place ID, I like using a little extension called GatherUp. Oops. You have to be on a particular listing. So here's a listing. Let's say we want the place ID for it. This section here, everything after the equal sign, is what you would put in a place ID. Here we have our baseline scan again. And then the focus of this video is actually the map URL. So a service area business, you're not going to be able to type in the name and easily get the service area business. And I'll give you an example here. Let's see here. All right. So let's look at Dave's garage door repair service. We can see it's a service area business because it gives us this red outline for where they service. Let's go back to our GeoGrid. So if I try taking the name of this business, it does not populate here. So let's go to map URL. And all we're going to do is take this long URL here and put it in. And now that gives us our baseline scan for a service area business. Be aware that when you make a baseline scan for a service area business, it's not going to point itself over the address used to verify the listing. You need to preemptively know that information to then take the sticky grid and drag it over where you believe the address was used to verify the listing. Where it's going to point to is the middle of this service area, but your ranks are still going to come for whatever address you use to verify. So for example, if your listing was verified in Salisbury and you're trying to target Hartford, you're not going to rank in Hartford. You're too far away. Even though your service area covers the entire state, because the address used to verify that service area business is not in Hartford, you're going to struggle in Hartford the farther away you are. I made another video on this subject. Basically, the only difference between a storefront listing and a service area business listing is that a service area business hides its address. Everything else is very much the same. So the address used to verify your listing is still very important. Another thing to note is don't be confused by what is Google Maps and what is Google search that happens to have a map. So what I mean by that is alright, if I take alright, so here's our same listing, Dave Garage Door Repair Service, Dave Garage Door Repair Service. You see that both have a map that both happen to be in Google. But this is Google Maps. You can tell because of the little map pin. This is Google Search that happens to have a map inside it. And you can tell because the icon, the favicon is a G. So if I was to take this URL by mistake and try to put this into local Viking, let me just refresh the page. It's not going to work. So you need to make sure you're on Google Maps. Take this URL, and now you have your baseline scanned. Another way to tell is just taking a glance at the URL itself. Here it's google.com/maps. This is google.com/search. Alright, that concludes our video on how to look up a Google Map URL for service area businesses. Once again, be aware that when you run a service area business scan, it's not going to place itself over your address used to verify the listing. And if you don't move it over that address or somewhere in the neighborhood of that address, it might look like you're not ranking. So just be sure to use the sticky grid, move it over to where you believe your address is located, and then you can see your ranks for the service area business. All right, take care.